First of all, why would you do an enema? Well, if you look back to Hippocrates, who laid the foundation for modern medicine, he was a big proponent for saying all disease begins in the gut. And enemas were actually used in hospitals all around the world for a very long time. I remember having a really amazing experience when I was just a young teenager and I had a major flu, was really sick. Didn't happen very often, but I remember just absolutely feeling like I was dying. And my mother took me into the bathroom and she asked me to, take down my pants and bend over, and she stuck this thing up my bum and gave me an enema. Probably the worst experience I ever had for having my own mother stick something up my butt. But I remember running to the toilet and just lots and lots of stuff coming out. And I'll never forget, I remember that experience right afterwards. It was like, wow, like all this pressure on my head, my fever, just the pains riddling in my body seemed to like almost immediately go away. So why would you do an enema? Well, lots of people get backed up digestively. If you're full of shit and you're not moving, you're constipated, that excess shit that's sitting in your digestive system is going to accumulate and become toxic. It puts stress on your liver. All this excess toxicity then goes some into your lungs. You start to cough, you get a lot of mucus. The body's trying to get rid of it. A lot of times we get the flu because we have a backed up digestive system. Things aren't that great. We have a compromised immune system, and then some type of bug, virus, bacteria, thing starts to spread. So enemas go all the way back to ancient Egypt and even amongst many different cultures. Hippocrates spent 7 years in Egypt learning from the physicians and then brought a lot of these practices back to Greece, and then these things just kind of went around the world. So the reason why you would do an enema is if you're constipated, if you're really sick and things just aren't moving, they can help you in ways that you can't even possibly imagine. The difference between a colonic and an enema, a colonic is actually going into a clinic, having someone administer a colonic. It's lots of water. It can also be super beneficial. But for a lot of people, they're maybe a little bit squeamish about having somebody else shove something up their butt, so you can actually do it yourself. In fact, I wanted to show you what my own personal enema kit looks like. It looks like this thing will hold about 3 liters, 2 to 3 liters of fluid. And this is what it looks like. A lot of you are gonna ask, well, what do you actually do? You're actually just sticking this tiny little piece, a lot smaller than even my pinky. You're putting this up your bum. You're using some coconut oil or some type of lubricant. You're lightly inserting it, putting it up your bum, and actually releasing water into the colon, which allows it to then flush everything out, which is where a lot of bad bacteria and things are going on that can help you to feel better almost immediately. So what kind of things can you put into the enema? Well, you can use something like wheatgrass. There's an amazing woman called Anne Wigmore who had gray hair at 50. In her 70s, she had a full head of black hair and was a big proponent for wheatgrass. Wheatgrass contains almost every nutrient you can possibly imagine. So especially if you're sick and you're getting rid of this toxicity, you can also uptake a lot of that nutrition by adding wheatgrass to the enema. Most people, including myself, will typically just use a little bit of salt, which makes it a lot easier. So I'll put in a tablespoon of salt into a whole liter of water. I'll let it go into solution. Then when I fill my enema kit, I'll add that salt water solution, and it works quite nicely. You could actually just use ocean water. It would be the perfect amount of salt for really flushing out the digestive system. Salt also helps us to hydrate. It also kills bad bacteria, so it'd be good for multiple reasons. Salt's probably the most common thing that people use. Now, when you're doing the enema, it also needs to be warm or close to hot water. You need to be able to put your hand in it, because if it's too hot and it burns, it's gonna burn your bum hole. You don't wanna do that. But cold water isn't the most effective as well, and it'll probably come out a little soon. So if it's warm water, body temperature, slightly hot, it's gonna help, that hot water is gonna help break up any plaque or things that are stuck, carry it out of your body. There's something called Gerson therapy. Gerson therapy is a quite successful therapy that thousands and thousands and thousands of people for the last 30 plus years have been using, probably longer than that, for different forms of cancer, and it's been very effective for colon cancer, liver cancer, different forms of cancer. You guys look into that yourself. But one of the major protocols that Gerson does, Gerson was a doctor, is he would cook and make organic coffee, just like a brewed coffee. You use 2 tablespoons of organic coffee grounds, you boil it for 5 minutes, you allow that to cool, and then you can add that to the enema. When you take in coffee through the backside, it stimulates the liver to dump bile acids. And whenever the liver dumps out these bile acids, it literally grabs all the extra toxins and fats and cholesterol and things that are stuck in the liver and the gallbladder and ejects it out into the small intestine. And then these things can start to come out as well. So especially for people with liver cancer, it's absolutely fantastic. I've been running a clinical fasting program in Bali for 7 years with a doctor from the United States. I've had people with colon cancer, liver colon cancer, many different forms of disease, and it's been quite effective. It's an amazing technique. So you could use coffee, you could use salt, you could add bicarbonate of soda, you could do wheatgrass, and the ancient Egyptians also had very specific recipes of actual essential oils. So it's gonna take me way too long to explain what that is. It's a 4-day process of doing very specific things that cleans your colon more than anything I've ever seen. It strips it of all kinds of plaque. People tend to see parasites coming out, deep levels of even sandy looking stuff, all kinds of things. So maybe I'll make a separate video just about the ancient Egyptian technique and what they used. Is it safe? Well, absolutely it's safe, and it's an amazing process. And again, it's just a tiny little piece that you're inserting very gently. You're using lubrication. You're laying on your back. I'll make another video. I already have videos for actual instruction where I'm in the bathroom showing you guys exactly the positions to sit in, how to administer it, all this sort of stuff. My enema kit also comes with another attachment that is actually a douche for women. So ladies, if you ever get a urinary tract infection, putting about a half a cup of apple cider vinegar in warm water and administering a douche can clean everything out, balance the pH of your bits, your uterus and all this sort of stuff, clean everything out and help to get rid of urinary tract infection. Apple cider vinegar is also a spermicidal. So if a man and a woman were playing and oops, accidentally got a little bit of that stuff in there, she can actually go use apple cider vinegar as a douche to kill the sperm and not get pregnant. So I hope these tips have helped you guys. It is absolutely safe. It's used by thousands of people, but you have to educate yourself. If you ever get to the point where it's starting to hurt a little bit, or you're not inserting it correctly, or you're not taking the cap off of it, something like this, it's usually simple things where people run into problems. But at any point where you feel like there's pain or something going on, you can just stop and not do it and wait a few days until you do it again. Why would I do an enema? Because number one, I'm either constipated or sick, or number two, essentially I'm fasting and it's a way to help my body detoxify while I'm fasting. I'm not the type of person that does enemas every day. I have really good digestive system because of fasting and colon cleansing and using these types of tools. So I normally don't use it, but if I were to start feeling sick, I would. That definitely happens if I feel something coming on. Or if I'm fasting, I'm doing it every single day because my body's detoxing and I'm supporting that process. Hope you guys have learned a little bit about enemas. Check out my other videos. Talk to you soon.